Alright YouTube, it's time to make a video specifically addressed, and you should send this to any, former Clinton fans, whether it's soft supporters, hardened, Democratic partisans, whatever. You should send this to them, link them to it, and see if I can't explain to them why they shouldn't particularly be concerned. The first point I'd like to make is this, that most of you, if you think that Trump is the next Hitler, or something along those lines. Now, in full disclosure here, and I've actually been criticized for this by certain Trump fans, I'm not a Christian. I don't follow a Judeo-Christian background. I'm not a partisan Republican. I never have been. I voted for Obama in '08. I voted for Ron Paul in 2012 because I couldn't stand Mitt Romney, honestly. I'm certainly not a conservative. I'm to the left of the Clintons on an issue like gay marriage or abortion, I think. What I would say is this. The media is dying in the United States. The mainstream media, as most people term it. I call it the legacy media. I call it the legacy media because the formula that they use to get attention, that they use to put out information, and most of that information, I think, most partisan Democrats, like most partisan Republicans, realize is false. Most of the formula that they use is the essential equivalent to clickbait on the internet. That is, a story about, for instance, on the internet, how a meteor is going to pass close to Earth, something that's the size of a toaster, gets turned into, if you look at Before It's News or some of these sites, world-killing asteroid is about to hit us, NASA cover-up in progress, elites hide in their bunkers, something like that. The legacy media, unfortunately, has to do the same thing. Long ago, when TV was new, because it was novel, because it was a novel invention that people found entertaining, there was no clickbait in the media. Once people realized that having coverage of police chases, talking about, how many people might die, what's going to happen next, and so forth, the basic same plot of how you would market a Hollywood movie, like an action film, took hold on television. The problem with that is that all of these news sites, once one news site did it, all the rest had to do it. The legacy media on television is at a severe disadvantage over the internet, and I think we've seen the effects of that in this election because it's not as interactive. They're trying to branch out into the internet. It's not working because they continue. We've seen this as well. NPR's done it. Fox did it at one point, although I think they rescinded it. CNN's done it variously on different stories. They don't even allow people to comment on their material, and will actually try to get material taken down that's mirroring it and allowing comments sometimes under copyright law. It's totally dishonest. What you have seen during this election is that a person who for decades was actually a Democrat, which is Donald Trump, not Bernie Sanders mode, not a leftist, but generally speaking a party Democrat, not a Republican, who in the 90s and into the 2000s said he wasn't on board with the Iraq War. I understand that he said, it might be a good idea to remove Saddam. He never indicated any support for a ground invasion. I think he was thinking of assassinating Saddam instead. It could have worked, maybe. I still would have opposed the idea generally. I'm more pacifistic than most people. That's another reason that I'm not a partisan Republican or a partisan Democrat at this point after what I've seen from Hillary Clinton in this election. He was a Democrat. He was not a jingoist, certainly, not particularly pro-war. He spoke out in favor of gay rights, said that he would have preferred that the states all take initiative to legalize it, but that he wouldn't stand in the way if he were in politics against gay rights because it was a dead issue, which it is. I would agree with him on that. Again, I wish that it had been settled earlier. It never should have been a partisan political discussion. On abortion, the same thing is exactly what he said, and I'll put a link in the description. You can see it for yourself. He doesn't care about these issues. He's also not a bigot. Nobody ever labeled him one until he ran for the presidency. Nobody ever claimed that he was a bigot. Pig-headed, yes. Loudmouth, yes. That's part of his celebrity persona. And that's also worth pointing out. What you've seen is that Donald Trump is first and foremost an entertainer. Most of the comments that he's made, for instance about Rosie O'Donnell, I strongly believe, I may be wrong here, but I have my belief and I'm going to stick to it. I believe he and O'Donnell cooked that up themselves as a marketing strategy, in tandem with one another. Hey, Rosie, I got a great idea. Oh, what is it, Donald? Let's pretend that we're in a huge fight and call each other names so we can gobble up a couple weeks of media coverage because, your show, you can pander to your fans. Your show will really skyrocket. I'll pander to my fans. It'll just be great. We'll make millions of dollars off this. Just trust me. And lo and behold, that's what happened. I think that's the case. I think sexual assault allegations aside, and some of them might be legitimate, some of them might not be. Trump is not a Nazi. He's not a racist in the most well understood sense. He's not a bigot. He doesn't care about these things. Honestly, he's just a money president. In fact, if this were 10 years ago, you would be calling him a moderate Democrat, honestly. He wouldn't have fit in with the Bushite Republican Party. He would have been considered weak on war because, of course, W was a jingoist. He would have been considered very weak on the gay marriage issue, which at the time they were still fighting for some unknown reason. He would have been a little bit more honestly than most people would like to admit than Clinton herself at the time. Clinton decided to go full retard and promote war with Russia, essentially, which is what would result from a no-fly zone in Syria, from attacking Iran. I have a clip of her talking about that, saying, oh yeah, if I'm elected, I'll attack Iran. They need to know this. That was in 2008 when she was running against Obama to try to differentiate her platform from that of somebody who was pretending at the time to be a pacifist. And I would point out to the partisan Democrats, you've been hoodwinked into supporting a party that doesn't know what it's doing. We've now see that in full force. Right now, the DNC and Donna Brazile and Hillary Clinton and John Podesta and all of the other people associated with them are stabbing one another in the back, talking trash about every possible voting demographic. They're not just talking, by the way. If you're a partisan Democrat and to the left, you probably pay most attention to something like Being Liberal or Salon, maybe MSNBC. That's probably where you get your news. You're probably hearing from them that they're blaming white women or angry white males for Trump winning the election. I think it was a good thing that he did win for my own reasons, and I say this as a non-Christian white male, certainly. But if you check elsewhere, you'll find that other people within the Democratic Party are blaming Hispanic voters, black voters, minority voters in general, young voters, and everything else under the sun for treason against party loyalty or something along those lines. That's why she lost. Now you fully see. The Democratic Party, for some time, has become little more than a neoliberal movement. It's not leftist. It doesn't have any left-leaning principles of any value that it doesn't use just to pander for votes. It has become little more than a Bush-style pro-war party that's on board with corporations, with banks, they were all funding Hillary Clinton, with groups like Monsanto, that's on board with the same type of globalism that I remember my fellow leftists, for I was more of a leftist at the time, back second term of George W. Bush. I remember zeitgeist. I remember all of the things that were being said. People were very worried, and somewhat rightly so, about a rising elite order, not like in the Alex Jones sense, but in a general corrupt sense, that did want to bilk the people of this world out of money and power, and essentially rule things in an autocratic fashion. I think we see that that is what they've been aiming for. Again, I don't say this in an Alex Jones, oh, it's some reptilian bloodline sort of thing. I say this as in power corrupts. They've been in power too long, obviously. I think it's clear at this point. The Bushes had the same problem. They were just the spin-offs of Herbert Walker, who got gerrymandered in there because he happened to be the vice president of Ronald Reagan. That was his only claim to the office at all. Reagan was popular. Herbert Walker got elected. He was no Ronald Reagan. It was very, very funny to see. Bill Clinton comes along. He was basically just a Bush who had a D after his name. These people have lied to you. They've convinced many of you that the Republicans hate women, and they hate gays, and they hate whoever else under the sun. The Democrats hate them too. That's the point. The point is the two-party system is a complete lie. For the first time in a long time, we have a paradigm shift, which I predicted. It came true. Leading to President Trump, that I predicted. It happened. And now President Trump will lead the GOP in a new direction. It won't be in a Hitler-esque direction. It's likely to be centrism. If you think that people like George W. Bush have screwed this nation, and he did, or people like Obama have screwed this nation, which you may not believe in. If you're a partisan Democrat, you probably look at Bush and Obama, and despite the fact that they overlap on 90% of issues, you consider one superior to the other in some measure. The Republican partisans do the same, in reverse. They look at Obama, they ignore the fact that most of what he's doing is basically Bushism, and they say, well, Obama's an evil traitor, Bush was great. You say Obama's great, Bush was an evil traitor. They're the same thing. The two parties were too corrupt, they were controlled by the same people. There's a reason that I didn't bother voting for Romney to stop Obama, or voting for Obama to stop Romney in 2012. The reason was simple. They were both funded by the same people, proving to me that they were the same thing. Because no corporation or bank is going to lend money to a campaign or grant money to a campaign against its own self-interest, showing me both candidates were completely in their pockets the whole time. There was no difference between them. I couldn't even tell the difference when they were up on stage half the time. If I closed my eyes, it was difficult to tell who was speaking because they were saying the same things. Donald Trump is not Hitler. Donald Trump is an egotistical billionaire who decided to screw his fellow donor class members in order to try to get something accomplished. I have no doubt in my mind that he's doing this because he wants the Triple Crown. The Triple Crown in the world of man, as opposed to horse racing, is fame, wealth, and power. Donald Trump already has fame. He's been an entertainer, an A-list celebrity, very powerful name within entertainment, not just for The Apprentice, which is popular, but also for his control, Miss USA or Miss Universe or whatever it is. He rubs elbows with a lot of famous people, with celebrities. There are all sorts of pictures with him and the Clintons, which people find amusing. He's already got wealth. He's worth billions of dollars. The amount of debt he has doesn't matter. How much he's worth doesn't matter. He's filthy rich. It doesn't matter if you use the most liberal or most conservative estimate of his wealth. He's fucking rich. We need to get over trying to split hairs. I remember people did that about Obama and Romney, too. They said, oh, Obama's so much less rich than Romney. Yeah, but he's still a multimillionaire. What difference does it make? To quote Hillary Clinton, at this point, what difference does it make? They're still both rich. They're still both being paid more money by the same people who also paid Clinton. Speaks for 10 minutes, gets $1 million. Woohoo! Yeah, she knows about the working class and their plight, and how difficult it is for them. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. He wants to go for number 3, which is power. The only thing that would suffice is the presidency. And here's the key. Donald Trump never governed his businesses by saying, oh, I want to be a good businessman. I want a nice, stable, boring, I want a good business. No, he said, I want the best business. I want my name slapped everywhere. I want everyone to know what my face looks like. Extravagance, sheer extravagance, golden toilets and marble facades, the whole 9 yards. When he was in as a celebrity, he didn't just say, oh, I want to be an entertainer. I want to make some people laugh, have a show for a while and call it a day. No, he said, oh, I'm going to make a show that's going to be so over the top that it's basically going to supplant Survivor in the reality TV generation. I want to start feuds with the celebrities. I want to start drama. Everyone's going to know me. Everyone's going to know who I am as an entertainer. They're all going to identify me with some sort of show or movie or something under the sun. And he accomplished that largely. We do largely all know who Trump is. And running for the presidency obviously helps to cap that off too. And there's nobody in this country who doesn't know who he is at this point. He now wants power. He wants to be remembered not as just a great entertainer and a great businessman, but also a great leader. For an egotist to attain the Triple Crown, for somebody that extravagant with obviously high standards of his own capabilities, he doesn't have to do a good job, he has to do a stellar job. I believe that Trump is largely in this to secure a legacy. Now, in some cases, that can be a bad thing. Somebody is just power mad. They're just going to abuse everybody around them. But the U.S. presidency is a popularity pissing contest. That's what it's devolved into over time as TV and the internet have taken hold. In order for Donald Trump to truly ascend to the rank of greatness that he wants to be at, so that people are literally building statues of him as a great man 100 years from now, which is what he wants. I can tell you that with great assurance. In order to accomplish that, he needs to be a great president. Now, I have my own opinion. I think he will simply be a good president. But he's going to look stellar in comparison, let's face it, to what we've gone through over the last few administrations. Democratic partisans look at Obama, call him great. They say, well, he's black, he faced obstruction, he would have done so many wonderful things if only he hadn't been obstructed. Republicans look at W and say, oh, he was so misunderstood, he was doing what he needed to do. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to do the sort of decision-making he had to do on a daily basis after 9/11. You're both right and you're both wrong. You're both right in that partisans will make excuses for poor leaders. You're both wrong in that both of these people suck. George W. Bush was a moron. Barack Obama's a moron. I will give them credit for a very small number of things during their presidencies. Bush was really good with diplomacy as it related to the African continent. More important, by the way, than many of you even know. Obama opened up Cuba from its embargo after decades. It's important. It was a good thing that he did. He stepped out of the way of an oil boom, too. I will give him credit for that. I'll also give him credit on at least trying to draw India into the Western sphere. But both of these people, at the end of the day, accomplished far less than they should have, because our expectations of our presidents lately have been far lower. We've gone from expecting them to be stellar individuals to expecting them to be at best mediocre and calling them great leaders if they are. If they aren't outright failures, we've gotten to the point where if they're just a little bit corrupt, a little bit stupid, a little bit evil and warmongering and despicable, we say, oh, yeah, okay, president, yeah, I can deal with this. Yeah, my taxes, the economy got screwed a little, we lost a few thousand people, but it could have been worse. We could have had like a nuclear war or something like that. That's not the kind of country that I think our founders really envisioned us living in. I think that Donald Trump, as an egotist, and trying to secure the final capstone of a lifelong legacy that already includes being in the paper constantly, being on TV constantly, and being able to buy and sell most business entities in the Western world at a whim, he wants power now. The only way to truly gain power in that executive office at the highest level is with the bully pulpit, and the only way to use the bully pulpit to any effect is to be very popular. He's starting off with a severe disadvantage as compared to past presidents, including W. W had decent popularity when he first got elected that undeservedly spiked after 9/11 for a few months. Obama started off during a honeymoon period at around 67%. Trump's lucky if he starts off above 50%. He'll be very lucky if he does, and it'll fall below that after the honeymoon period's over. He must act quickly in order to secure his legacy. I don't think you're going to see a President Trump who goes far, far right to appease a few people within his party, and who ignores the plight of the working class, talks down to black people, talks down to Hispanics. I think that you see a Trump who really envisions, should he run for re-election, having in the first 4 years grown the Republican coalition so large through so many decent decision-making skills, that it will be a shoo-in that he gets re-elected. I think he wants to ingratiate himself to Hispanics. I think he wants to ingratiate himself to female voters, to black voters, Native Americans, to everyone else, non-Christians, which are groups that in many cases, let's face it, the GOP has fallen short on courting, because they've kept with the tired old line of gay marriage is evil, abortion is evil, and we should go shoot people. That's what the Republican Party under Bush was like. It's what it was, in 2004, in 2008 with McCain. Romney was just a tired business neocon that kind of forsook some of that message, but at the same time was just talking about how corporations were people. The Republican Party has successfully changed form. All of these other Republicans, which are the actual evildoers that so many of you are worried about, have fallen in line and are going to have to work with the fact that President Trump is not a neoconservative, and he's definitely not a jingoist. I see that as a breath of fresh air. This is the Republican Party that I wish existed when 9/11 happened. Maybe we would have made better decisions at the time if that had been the case. maybe we wouldn't have just decided, let's overthrow this country. Oh, that's not enough. We'll overthrow this one too, and we're going to pander around in a couple more. You shit fucks. We're going to keep bombing people all over the world. I think it was the wrong decision to make. I hope that Trump comes out against the use of the drone program at a whim. I hope he does come out against domestic surveillance. I hope he does temper the militarized police state. I hope that he tries, at least, to heal some of the wounds in this nation. Whether or not he's successful, he will, I think, at least try. Obama never tried. W never tried. They never attempted it. They were such partisans that they saw certain things as beyond their capability to do. I don't think Trump thinks like that. I think Trump tends to shoot for the moon. If he falls short, he shoots again. Great. That's probably what we need as a country right now. He's not some Nazi. There's not going to be a bunch of swastika-waving stormtroopers marching down your street to deport all the illegals. It's not going to happen. He's going to pull a Dodd Stimson on you and look a lot like Ronald Reagan in the process. He'll get his wall or fence or whatever the hell form it takes. Ultimately, most of those people are likely to get legalized. I predicted that months ago. I predicted that when the primaries were still going on. He's not going to kick 14 million people out of this country. It's just not going to happen. He knows it's not feasible. Why do you think he tempered his message when he was still running in the primaries on this subject? He has no intention of mass deportation. He'll deport the criminals. He'll deport people who are incapable of paying their back taxes. The rest of them will probably get a green card. More power to him. I never even cared about the issue. I cared about staving off a nuclear war. That's why I voted against Clinton. She's talking about we're going to attack Iran. We're going to have a no-fly zone in Syria. Right in an area where the Russians are already flying, by the way. Great job, Hillary. The military had to tell Congress, because of the suggestions that this woman made, yeah, that would necessitate a war with Russia at some point. And people are nuts. You're acting as though feelings based on Donald Trump said something that the media said should offend me, are more important than nuclear war, conducting diplomacy with foreign states, trying to take care of the debt. Even if we fail, we've got to do something about it at some point. We can't keep living in la-la land forever. Bush was in la-la land. Obama campaigned on this is unacceptable, it's irresponsible to do this, and then he forgot about it and he drifted off into la-la land. Let us all hope Trump does not do the same thing. Let's hope that that's not the case, because otherwise we're probably screwed in the next 4 years. That debt will keep growing. Doesn't matter if the deficit's been cut. It's still there. It's just smaller. We're still racking up debt. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So that would be a message to sort of the Clinton supporters, the independents, people generally, who thought Trump was a bad idea. He's not. He's probably what we need as a nation right now. I'm not sitting here waving a Confederate flag at you, talking about how everyone must worship Jesus, gays should be deported, abortion's evil. I don't believe in these things. I just don't care. I also don't care if people smoke pot. I think we should end the drug war. I don't support the draft. I don't support war. I'm deeply anti-war. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. And a lot of people don't realize that yet. They can't wrap their minds around it. They were told for so long. Strangely enough, I'll leave you with this. You had the strange situation where the same media that was lying to you out there, whether you're a Clinton fan, maybe you were a Trump fan, maybe you were voted for Johnson, maybe you just stayed home. They told you Trump would start a nuclear war, but they also told you that Trump was a Russian agent. Now, can these two things be reconciled together? Do they make sense? No, they're self-defeating. They're contradictory. They can't coexist. The only other major nuclear state's controlling Trump, but at the same time, somehow, he's also going to cause a nuclear exchange with that state. That's what the media tried to sell to you. They didn't do it just because they disliked Trump. Part of it was they got paid by the Clinton campaign. We know this because of WikiLeaks. Don't even bother bringing up Russia. That's been discredited. Even the legacy media at this point is reporting the fact that it was discredited when Donna Brazile kept it up after the election was over. She got shot down by CNN and similar groups. Okay, the story's gotten old. You need to stop making this excuse. We know that the media was paid off by the Clinton campaign. And they're lying to all of us. Every single person in this country, every single man, woman, and child has been told that Trump is evil, that he's Hitler, that he's, I don't know, some other horrible name. He's Joseph Stalin, he's Tito, he's Pol Pot, except he's not a communist. He's a far-right Pol Pot or something like that. It's just not sensible. It's just not going to happen. Most of the suggestions that he made during the campaign, if you actually look at what he said versus what the legacy media told you he said, you'll find there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. That's the point. The reason why the media did this above and beyond, simply they happen to be paid off, sensationalism makes them money. A tiny scandal gets blown out of proportion. All the time. Over and over and over again. Doesn't even matter if there's an election going on. It happens with everyone. Some celebrity who's married stumbles out of a bar. Oh, are you having an affair? Oh, are you trying to kill yourself with alcohol poisoning because you're miserable? And the paparazzi comes and takes all sorts of pictures of this disheveled poor celebrity, honestly, who just had a drink at the bar. Oh, Mr. Radcliffe, you're looking sick. You're all sweaty. You look feverish. Do you have cancer? Or do you have AIDS? Are you dying? Or something like that. They do this all the time. It's just a bunch of fucking clickbaiting that happens not to be on the internet for you to interact with. When I see it, I typically get a good chuckle out of it. I don't even bother to refute it when I see an article like that. There's too many of them. Happens every single day. All around the world. It's not just the U.S. media. You can't really just fault them. You certainly see it from BBC or The Star or whatever. You see it from RT, Al Jazeera. It's all over the world. Look at the India Times and see what they say about Pakistan on a daily basis. Oh, these horrible devils trying to rob us of the Kashmiri province. And look at Pakistani media. Oh, these horrible heretic Hindus. They're trying to take our land and kill our people. They hate us. Come on. It's not reality. It's a mass delusion more than anything else. No, Trump's not going to nuke the world. He's not going to march people down the street to kill you. It's just not going to happen. That's about all. Peace out.